They wanted to leave it behind, to come to a place where freedom of religion, among other things, was practiced. So, when you come to the populations that were deposited often as refugee resettlement programs in places like St. Louis and a lot of other places that are more rural, I mentioned Shelbyville, Tennessee, other places in central Tennessee, up to Minnesota, a lot of them in what is known as the Bible Belt, interestingly enough. You find within those populations people who didn't so much come here to get away from Sharia as to get away from something else and to bring Sharia with them as part of the tradition that they were accustomed to practicing and that they expected to practice here as well. And that pursuant to Sharia, they intended to insinuate into this country. And so, as I mentioned, the Somali cab drivers in Minneapolis and the like are part of the effort. Muslim Brotherhood very much guiding a lot of their efforts to begin demanding accommodations, which is part of the phased plan. So again, the question recurs, how do you know which is which, given all of that? One of the ways, and this is not perfect, but it is helpful, I think, is to figure out, are they attending mosques in which Sharia is promoted? One of our colleagues, a wonderful fellow by the name of David Yerushalmi, has done a study that was published in the Middle East Quarterly back in June, peer-reviewed analysis, based on about 4 years of undercover investigation of 100 mosques selected at random across the United States. They were looking for two things, empirical data on two things. One, adherence to Sharia, and two, evidence that jihad was being espoused or otherwise promoted. And on the basis of these 4 years of really assiduous efforts to make sure that they were observing accurately and reporting accurately the data, they discovered that in 81 of those 100 mosques, both Sharia was being practiced and jihad was being promoted in the form of books and videos in their libraries and their bookstores, and recommendations for the reading list of the imams and so on. So, again, it's a crude measure, but what you'll find, thanks in part to that group I mentioned a moment ago, the North American Islamic Trust, which is an arm of the Saudi government, which is bringing Saudi money, well, it's actually your money, petrodollars being recycled in a very unhelpful way, to buy up the mortgages of mosques. And with those mosques' mortgages come the right to select the imam and to select the textbooks that then go into the madrasas, the schools, the videos that are in the bookstores and the other literature and so on. So the good news is, I think, as with, frankly, a lot of Christians and Jews for that matter, most Muslims don't go to mosques. Maybe they go on the high holy days or what have you, but they generally aren't subjected to this stuff all the time. But the ones who are, the ones who do, especially within the 80% or so of the mosques that are incubators of Sharia and jihadism, that's a pretty good, tip-off that they're probably lining up with the other side. And to the extent that you find people who are not attending mosques, they are assimilated in their communities. Ideally, they are professing, a commitment to this country, what it stands for, its traditions, its religious tolerance, and so on. They're not engaging in dawah, this recruitment to Islam, let alone, affecting the various outward manifestations of Sharia, the henna beards and the man dresses and skull caps. I mean, those are sort of clues too. Well, then there's a chance that they're okay.
Yikes.
But it's not a perfect indicator either. So this isn't easy. And again, that's why I have some sympathy for our law enforcement and other officials who are doing what seems like the sensible thing of reaching out to the community leaders who at least are telling them that they're all about America. Unfortunately, they are the Muslim Brotherhood and they're engaged in taqiyya. And so that's where you start. Don't go there. Thank you very much. Great to talk to you.